It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
That's right, we're here, John. John, can I get a little bit nerddom into the nerdville here?
Oh, please do.
We've talked about this one time before, and one of the things that happens with us during this time of the year as far as advertising for candidates, that we as broadcasters have very, very, very strict guidelines of things we can and cannot do, things that we have to do about reporting all the advertising. I turned you on to the FCC public information site, public inspection file site, where it shows all the different radio and TV stations. You can figure out exactly who's spending what on which TV's radio station and, who's paying for it, that kind of stuff. Okay. One of the things that is problematic for broadcasters, and I quite honestly wonder how they do this at 97.1, because Andrew Bailey is always on 97.1. And the rules are that if you have candidate A on from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6:15 in the morning, candidate B, once again, if he's a bona fide candidate, you have to give him equal opportunity. So you have to have him on the next morning or a couple of days after from 6 to 6:15 in the morning, okay? There's an interesting case that's been brewing in New Jersey, and this is on New Jersey 101.5. It's owned by Town Square Media. And it's interesting because I think the guy who is the morning host is running for governor, if I'm not mistaken. His name is, Bill Spadea, S-P-A-D-E-A. He announced his intention to run for the office of governor of New Jersey, but he said he's not giving up his morning show. So there's been this great big controversy because, once again, it's not that the guy he's running against wants to get on the radio station. They want to get this Bill Spadea guy off the radio station. So it's interesting because the New Jersey Electoral Commission, it's, I guess, the equivalent of our MEC. Was that the Missouri Ethics Commission? Is that what they call it there?
Yeah, that'd be right, yep.
Okay. This is the ELEC. This is the division that handles the candidacy stuff in New Jersey. They've essentially come to the conclusion that all they have to do is run an endorsement, or a disclaimer. As a matter of fact, the disclaimer says, I'll read part of it. Town Square Media and New Jersey 101.5 do not support, endorse, advocate, encourage, fund, or appeal for the election or defeat of any candidates for public office. Bill Spadea, specifically, who has announced his intention to run for office of governor of New Jersey, Town Square Media's affiliates, executive office agents, blah, 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 include, not request, suggest, invite, or encourage Bill Spadea to seek or decide to seek or become a legally qualified candidate for the office of governor of New Jersey. And the thing goes on and on and on. They have to read this disclaimer when he goes on the air, actually at the beginning of each hour of his show. So how do you feel about that? Is it wrong that a guy who is a radio personality or a TV personality, maybe a TV newsman, what if we had all of a sudden Mike Bush decided he wanted to run for county executive? Do you think it's...
Yeah, well, that's different because people watch TV and nobody listens to radio. So, like, you could allow the guy to walk out into the woods and yell, and who cares, I mean, nobody's going to listen to him anyway if he's on the radio. No, I think, first of all, I would vote against Mike Bush. I think everybody knows that he's a raging liberal. God bless him, because back in those Channel 5 days in the 80s when it was Mike Bush versus Bob Richards, I was a huge Mike Bush partisan. So shout out to Mike Bush for what he was like in the 80s. I don't think it really matters. I think running a disclaimer is fine. And I also think now, in an era where people see anonymous X accounts and Facebook accounts and fake news sites, Brad, which you've brought up, a lot of these news sites that purport to be local news sites that are actually campaign operatives running opposition research. I think if you put a disclaimer on it, that's plenty of cover. It doesn't bother me at all.
So you have no problem with it whatsoever?
Yeah, I would be fine if Ray Hartman stayed on Donnybrook and stayed on PBS. Ray's not going to win anyway. So first of all, it doesn't even matter. But even if the district was close, let Ray be on the air and run a disclaimer before every Donnybrook that says that he's running for Congress.
Well, I bring in my personal situation where I had Brian Nieves, who worked for me at the time. He did the morning show on our AM station, which at the time was KWMO, which is now crap. And he was a state rep, and then he decided to run for state senate. Well, Dick Stratman, who was I think at that point in time, the former mayor of Washington, decided to run for state senate as well, too. And Brian did a show on my station from 7 to 9 in the morning. So Dick Stratman's wife at the time, who was the program director for a competing radio station, KLPW, started sending me some nasty emails essentially saying that Brian Nieves had to come off the air. And I essentially said, no, I'd be more than happy to let Dick go from 9 to 11. And then she says, well, that's not equal time. And she doesn't know the rules because it's not equal time, it's equal opportunity.
Because she's an amateur and she's not a professional like you, Brad.
Right. And then my suggestion to her, well, let's have them do the show together. And of course, that went nowhere. But can you imagine right now, think about this on a national scale. If instead of some of these syndicated morning shows every morning for an hour, we had Donald Trump and Joe Biden on the air doing a talk show, taking phone calls, would that be the highest rated show of all time?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Donald Trump would be all for that.
Well, but what would be funny about that was, they first off, now that we have and I'm going to say something, and do not take this the wrong way. But we have timelines. I mean, for example, when you were doing your comms work for Monsanto and Bayer, there was a point when there was pre-Roundup and there was post-Roundup. You know what I'm saying? As far as
for sure.
How things were. Okay, we now have a situation. I think we've already briefly talked about it in Block A, where we have pre-assassination attempt and post-assassination attempt as far as the timeline is concerned. I mean, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, the old joke is, quote, 9/11 changed everything, unquote. But the assassination attempt certainly changed everything in this. And I would actually go so far to say that I thought that moment was the debate collapse by Joe Biden. I thought that changed everything. But within how many days, Brad? Within 8 days or 10 days, whatever it is, we had Biden's collapse on stage, figuratively, and then we had the assassination attempt. Right.
And now, according to the articles, I've read 2 of them so far this morning, the Democrats are essentially saying, well, not officially, but they're saying, we're just going to let things alone. We'll just let Biden run for president.
Which I think is great.
Well, but see, once again, going back to Biden and Trump in the morning. I'm telling you, that would be
fantastic. They should take our slot, Brad.
Well, you know what? I'm going to call the president this morning, and I'll call Donald Trump later this morning. Do you think I'll get through?
No, you should text them, though, because they're like me. They won't actually answer the phone, but if you text them, they'll see it.
John, do you ever wonder how, you're going to think I'm really weird when I say this, because you already know I'm really weird, because I'm going to say this, and a week from now I'm not going to care about it anymore, because that's how John has me typified, that I do something for a week and then I drop it. But
no, that's just projects, Brad. Go ahead.
Project, okay. These people operate on a different level than you and I. Okay, if you wanted to say something to Donald Trump right now, you could not do that, correct? You don't even.
Yeah, for sure. I could tweet at him, and that's about as close as I could get.
Right, but yet there's a level when you get to the point where, like, for example, when you get to the point where you're like a high-level media personality, let's say you're a movie star or something like that, on your phone, you've got Leonardo DiCaprio's number, you've got J-Lo's number, and, something happens, and, hey, I'm going to text my buddy Leonardo and see what he thinks. And you grab your phone and you text Leonardo, and he replies. Sure. Okay? Don't you wish you were on that kind of level sometimes?
No, absolutely not.
Really? Why not?
Because then people would contact you. If I have their number, they probably have my number. Hey, John, I'm coming through town. I'm gonna be there from August 7th to August 19th. Maybe we go out and get a beer? No, lose my number. Quit.
What if that's Leonardo DiCaprio saying, hey, John.
I don't have time for him. If it's Dua Lipa and she's in town and she can reliably prove to me that she's ovulating, no problem. You're Leonardo DiCaprio. Why would I want to sit down with him?
Because
maybe if Dua Lipa is in the follicular phase, like right at the end, right before she ovulates, I could cut an exception for her. But other than that, I don't want to hear from people.
See, there are things that John says that, once again, I think I should run a disclaimer. It's like saying, Brad is not the MCP that John purports to be, right? By saying things like that about Dua Lipa. Okay.
Did you say? Did you say NPC?
MCP. My mom used to.
Oh, I know what that is, but I thought you said NPC because if you knew what an NPC was, that would be awesome.
No, MCP. Okay. See, so you're telling me that if Leonardo DiCaprio texted you and said, John, what'd you say? Will you make fun? I'm in town for a week. Let's get together. You'd go, not interested.
Well, I'd ask him what he wants to talk about.
What if he said he wanted to talk about being on Scott Fawn's show?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I'd definitely talk to him. He can meet up. But what I'm not interested in is like taking a picture with him. John, can I get my picture with you? No. Like, I don't do that. Like, don't post a picture of me. Look at me, I'm hanging out with John Combas. Just quits, okay? But if he wanted to do something constructive, like, hey, I'd really love to be on Scott Fawn's show. Hey, I'm happy to do whatever I can to make that happen.
But
other than that, I got stuff to do, Brad.
You wouldn't just go, like, sit over a beer with him and just say, okay, so tell me what it was really like when you were holding what's-her-face up on the bow of the Titanic. And
oh, okay, so fair point. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point. Yeah, I'd be happy to have a conversation with him. But I also don't know, like, I don't know other than that what I have in common with him. And that's not being dismissive. There's plenty of people in Missouri who I would rather have conversations with than a Hollywood celebrity, just because I'm like that stuff isn't that fascinating to me. What am I going to do? Take a selfie with Leonardo DiCaprio? Look at how important I am. I'm hanging out with Leonardo DiCaprio. Who cares?
Okay, so scenario B, Donald Trump calls you and says, hey, John, we got to refuel my 757 at Lambert, and we're going to be
I'm there in a heartbeat.
We're going to be on the ground for about 2 hours. Come on by the airport. I'll clear you through security. They'll drive you out in the tarmac where my 757 is, and we got 45 minutes.
I'm on the way. Stop talking, Brad. I'm on the way.
You're on the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you take a selfie with Donald Trump?
No, absolutely not.
You would not?
Like, if he wanted to, for sure. I wouldn't ask to take my picture with Donald Trump. Why do I need my picture with Donald Trump? Now, if it was stunning Steve Austin, absolutely. If it was somebody like that important, 100%.
So if Hulk Hogan came in and called you up and said, hey, John, I'm promoting my new beer. It's what's it called? Hulkamania beer or something like that? No,
Real American beer. Here's what I would do in that scenario, Brad. I would take a selfie, and I obviously am not going to post a selfie on social media because I'm a straight man. But I would take a selfie, and I would have it for my kids. I'd be able to pass it down and be like, hey, look, here's – my kids could say, look, hey, your grandpa got to meet Hulk Hogan. Isn't this awesome? And, like, I wouldn't take a selfie with Hulk Hogan and post it on social media. You get what I'm saying? Now, if I took a picture with a funny WWE superstar, or I took a picture with a buddy of mine, I could post that on social media to be fun. But I'm not going to post a selfie of me with somebody famous, like, for clout, Now, back to Dua Lipa. Maybe I would, and then that way I could show me and Dua Lipa's kid, hey, look, this is the night we made you. Mom invited me to come backstage, and she did assure me she was ovulating. And then guess what? You were born 9 months later.
John. See, here's the interesting thing.
And I looked it up. She's 28, so she's still fertile.
Here's the interesting thing, John. This is pre-cell phone camera days, okay? And I'm not bragging when I say this kind of stuff, but every once in a while, one of my kids will say something about a classic rock star or something like that. And I will say, I spent the afternoon with that guy. And they'll go, go, no, you didn't. I go, yes, I did. Matter of fact,
where's your selfie? Where's your selfie with him, Brad?
Right. One time, where I spent 5 hours with Charlie Daniels, literally shoulder to shoulder, within arm's reach of Charlie Daniels for 5 hours. And I've told this story to my kids before, one of my kids, and they went like, yeah, right, Dad. I'm going, no, I'm telling you the truth. Why was that? We did, and I'll never forget this, we did a matter of fact, Peaches Records out there on Manchester out in West County, long since gone. We did a big special. Charlie Daniels had a new album came out. KSOQ was out there doing a live broadcast. He shows up. We didn't know if he was going to be there. We told there was a chance he may be in town. He was. He sat there for 5 hours in the summer heat and signed autographs and did not leave till there was not one person in the line to get an autograph.
Isn't that awesome?
I sat shoulder to shoulder with him, next to him, while he was signing autographs. I was on the air doing a live broadcast the whole bit. And literally, I'm to the point where it was a day like it was yesterday. To give you an example, it was so hot. You could say, how hot was it? It was so hot that we had a PA system. It wasn't our PA system. It was a guy out there who had a music store at the time, donated a PA system. We burnt up 3 of his PA systems. Literally, they fried. He went back to his store, got another one, set it up. 2 hours later, that one fried. It was that hot. So once again, no selfies, nothing like that. There is one picture of me, which floats around on the internet, was taken inside the Peaches out there, where it's me and a bunch of people standing up. As a matter of fact, Joe, a bunch of the people I used to work with.
Joe Mama Mason.
No, Don Jefferson was there. You don't know who Don Jefferson is. And a lot of people, my ex-program director, who was Mr. CN, and you can figure out what CN stands for. And I'll say N stands for nose, but we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. John, it's time for us to get out of here. Okay, do you think
this was a great show, Brad? And you know what? Just send me that Charlie Daniels selfie, because if you don't, I'm not going to believe you.
It's not a selfie. It's like a picture of me and a bunch of people.
I know, Brad. I'm teasing you.
And you won't even recognize me. I'd look totally different. Okay. And by the way, John, I will tell you this, and I will make this as a public pronouncement. I'm working on, a week from today, my life changing. And it will change.
Really?
It will change for the better. And John, not trying to embarrass you, but John's a part of it.
Oh, Brad, I have no idea what this is. This is great. I kind of don't want to know, so no spoilers.
Okay. Well, you do. You have to know about this, but we'll talk about this off air. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?